Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are after market close on Tuesday, October 3rd. We're going to take an updated look at AVTX today. So first we're going to start off on the intraday here, zoom out to the daily, make any adjustments to our levels, any trend lines, and then we're going to flip over to the think or swim study and see how the TTM squeeze indicator as well as the channel are situated after most recent price action. Now coming in from yesterday to today and the levels that we've had on the chart, yesterday came in blaring at open at 1178, trying to hold support there. Nice push through 1238, but couldn't quite make it up here to this 1323, and then confirmed resistance here at 1238, peeled back to basically where it started at 1178. Now a big push in the after hours all the way up to that 1323, but peeled back 2 levels to find support at 1201. Big push at market open today. First rejected off of that 1323 level, but on the second attempt flipped it to support, confirmed it, and then on the second run at 1396 was able to push through there as well, all the way to a bit of a fraction of a penny over the level that we had on the chart of 1460. So I'm really happy with where these levels are situated and how they're holding up on the intraday price action. We do see in the after hours here, peeled back, tried to briefly hold 1396, flip that to resistance, and for the time being at least, on of course lower volume, it is trying to situate itself at this 1323 level. So zooming back in here to the daily, keep in mind we have this big gap up here that starts at about 88 cents and would stretch all the way up to $4 and just about 2 cents. But there's a lot of work to be done before that would ever even come into play. So if we zoom out, we see this mess of a chart, but I don't mind the chart being messy on the daily if my intent is to see what's happening intraday, because intraday, I look at this and I have 6 levels. That's not something that's sort of incomprehensible to try to make sense of intraday. And especially there's only 6 levels on there on a day when it moved up over 18% when all was said and done. So I'm happy that we haven't overly cluttered the chart and its usefulness on the intraday. Now, if we are able to push through the levels that we can see on the intraday chart, we have this 1460 level to the upside, if we're able to get support over that 1396 again. 1460 would be the next level that I see, 1531, 1588, and we do have a bit of a stretch. There's probably a level taking shape here at about 1634. But I'm going to hold off with putting that on the chart at the moment. Maybe we'll get another bit of candle or two of price action in that range to help us sort of confirm if that level sort of takes shape. Then above that, what we already have in 1698, 1748, and then the beginning of a bit of a gap here, which I guess was this filled now? This is the start of a gap. I don't know where the other indicator is, but okay, this is previous gap, which is why it's purple, that has been filled by this candle, it looks like. So I'm going to shift that back to blue because that's sort of not relevant as a gap level anymore, but it is still a resistance level. So, if we get up there, 2369, 2238, 2066, 1933, and so on and so forth, as you can see here. So I'm happy with how these levels are holding. No clear trend lines presenting themselves at the moment. We could say that there's a downtrend line here on those 4 candles that today it tried to break. We will see if that continues to take shape. I'll show you what I'm talking about, and then we'll take it off again just to not clutter the chart. But you see, consuming these most recent 4 candles, and then today, nice move out from underneath that downtrend line. So what I'd want to see, if I'm a bull, is it getting some additional traction and distance from that trend line, because what can happen is it just retraces quickly over the next few days and essentially starts following this downtrend resistance down again, but sort of treating it as downtrend support, which is a very sad situation to end up in. So that's why you want distance. You want to push through and then just immediately get some distance. So we will know as this week proceeds if it gets that distance, because it would happen quickly if it's going to do it. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip over. All right, so here is our think or swim study. And here we're going to take a look at the channel setup, the TTM squeeze indicator, and that will round out the video. So the setup here is basically such that on large moves like this one, this big gap down, or some of these pushes up, we see how the price can move outside of the channel. That gives us an opportunity to play the reversion back to the mid-range of the channel, which is this bright blue line. You see that persisting down here now. And then when it is in the channel, which is what's happening now, we can get a sense of where it is trend-wise, right? So sort of a neutral trend at the moment, because you have these really herky-jerky motions. But over the last several days, really a couple of trading weeks, it's sort of compressed itself in this zone from about 21 to the upside, down to about half that to the downside. So it is a huge range. And, you know, kudos for you if you can sort of like play that range, that sort of like horizontal channel, because there is ample opportunity to take advantage of those gains when it presses the top of that horizontal channel and then peels back and then, you know, rinses and repeats basically. But this is to say it is sort of neutralizing the trend at the moment. Obviously, it was stuck in a pretty distinct downtrend previous to this. Thinkorswim is giving me a hard time with zooming out. Yeah, it keeps doing this. So I can't really zoom out to re-show you. But in any case, you see it is sort of just battling with the mid-range of this channel. Now, what I'm most interested to see, and what would sort of make me feel that there's maybe an outsized movement coming. Again, keep in mind, this sort of horizontal channel that it's in right now is about double and half the price, right? It stretches from about 10 up to about 21. So that in and of itself is a huge range. Like today, it moved up 18% and it still is well within the range. It's like midway in that range. So it's like, but what I'd be looking for to maybe start presenting itself of having an outsized movement, talking about like maybe triple digit movement, percentage-wise, would be now that it's kind of hugging the mid-range of this channel, this bright blue line, and it just seems to kind of be wrestling with it. I'm going to be looking for the TTM squeeze indicator to start triggering. Now it hasn't yet, and when it triggers, it's, let's see, when was the last time it triggered? Well, I don't want to just nauseate you. Okay, so here's the red triggers, okay? 4 red trigger candles, and then it fired, and you got this big push up when it fired from, at that point, about 240, and it topped out around 384. And that was when it was, you know, even making less crazy motions. And even then, as it continued firing, it pulled back a little bit. So really that full motion was from about 240, you know, up to here in the 430s before it had that major drop off, 440s on this candle, and then that huge day of selling off that big gap that we talked about as we opened the video. So I'm looking for something of that magnitude, and that can take shape when the trend is neutralized and when the price action just starts to spend a bunch of time wrestling with the mid-range of the channel, but not really doing anything substantial in the channel. Okay, this has nothing to do with if it can move up or down a large percentage in a day. It's relative to the channel. Is it getting any major motion? And in this case, it's really not. As you see, it's hugging the mid-range here. So if this TTM squeeze indicator starts to trigger, we start to get some red candles in there, I'm going to be really interested to see if, when that fires, if that brings with it, it may take a few days, but if that brings with it sort of really outsized move. I don't know which way the move would go. Keep that in mind. But this has sort of the early markings of something like that to potentially take shape. Also keep in mind, early markings could mean that it all falls apart, right? It never really takes shape. But it has me interested because those are 3 really strong factors to be taking shape. Wrestling with the mid-range of the channel, neutralizing the trend, and the TTM squeeze indicator not yet triggering. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens, but for the time being, this one is even just a wild ride within this confined space in which it's been putting in a bunch of price action as of late. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.